Hey, how are y'all doing today? Hope everybody's great. Got a little different video. I ended up with a spot in the deck lid on my project car here, and it's kind of low. The panel needs some support underneath it because it's got a lot of loose kind of feeling metal there. It's a really flat panel, not got a lot of curvature to it, so the sheet metal just wants to lay there and flop, let's call it. It'll cause a vibration, which could lead to unwanted noise inside of the vehicle. We all want our cars to be nice and quiet like modern vehicles are. 3M has a product that is excellent for that. It's 08463 is the number, flexible foam. And this stuff expands out and then it gets more dense rather than pushing really hard on the surface. So it's going to raise up our low spot and it's going to stop that unwanted panel flutter is the technical term for it. So trying to get everything set up. I've got my dual cartridge gun here. This thing's excellent. It's made for these cartridges specifically. You can see it's got a couple different sizes pistons there for different products they make. I use this stuff to glue sheet metal together, to seam seal, to repair plastic. I mean, you know, everybody knows 3M. They make a ton of different stuff. There's several manufacturers out there, but I'm not going to cover any of them. I'm just going to cover this one specific product that 3M makes. So you're going to want to have the product, of course. You're going to want to have a dual cartridge applicator gun, and you're going to want a pair of gloves to keep this stuff off of you. So we'll get into the video here. I'll show you how I've got it set up, what I'm going to do with it, and the best practices to use for making this stuff really work for you. And if you like the content that I'm putting out, hit the subscribe button. You know, click the bell so you get notifications on the new information I'm putting out there for you. Love to have you all here. And we're just going to get right into making this stuff work. It's really cool. Taking something that is a high-tech new product and use it to solve a problem on an old car that's been an issue since cars were made. You can take an old vehicle and really quiet it down by just stopping the sheet metal from vibrating on the car. So, hey, let's get our stuff out and get this thing set up, and I'll bring you along. And today we're going to use it on a deck lid. So on this car, you can see if I push right here, I don't know if I get the camera set up, I push and you can hear that. It's not really oil canning so much as it's a large and a low crown to the panel, or the panel doesn't have very much curvature to it. So there's not a lot of strength in that panel because of the flatness of the sheet metal. You'll find this on a lot of hoods, maybe inside of some doors on some vehicles. 3M makes an excellent product to take care of this. There's a couple of other manufacturers out there, but this is what I'm used to using. And they're just calling it flexible foam. Okay, this is not the same stuff as you buy at the hardware store, the great stuff or something like that. Those types of foams, they expand and they just keep expanding. Okay, I've seen them used inside of enclosed areas and they'll actually bend the sheet metal slightly. So this expands until it meets resistance and then it just gets denser. So the classification, what they typically call this is Noise Vibration and Harmonic dampening foam. It is an excellent product for reducing that noise in the interior cabin of your vehicle. And like we're going to do today, I'm going to show you the process of putting it in and the effect that it can have when we use it properly. So let's jump in and get our tools out, get some gloves on, and we'll look at this a little more closely. All right, so I've got my foam, I've got my applicator gun, which is kind of a funky looking little gun. The cool thing about this is you can buy one, and a lot of different manufacturers use the same configuration. The only thing that you may have to change is the diameter for these pistons or pucks that are inside of here. And I've found that I can use the small one and the big one for everything. The only time I've had to have this smaller one is for a product that has two different size cartridges on there. You have a smaller one for a catalyst or part A and a bigger one for part B. So I've just left it set up that way. 3M has got a ton of this stuff out there. I use this type of two-part product for bonding panels, for seam sealer, and this flexible foam. They also make one that's called pillar foam, and we don't want to use that one. It's for those later model vehicles that need added strength in the pillar areas, so they shoot the foam in there and it actually has a structural component to it. This one is just strictly noise, vibration, harmonic dampening. So it expands a large amount, 5 times what its normal little bead size is. It tells you here it's got a dwell time of 10 seconds and a work time of 40 seconds. So you better be ready to move when you start gunning this stuff out. And those times definitely are dependent on temperature. The warmer it is outside, the faster it's going to work. So let's say it's 85 degrees. You can figure that's going to be 5 seconds and 20 seconds, okay? So 80 degrees isn't really that warm. I know here in Oklahoma, man, it's going to be that very few times during the year. We're getting into fall, so it's a little bit cooler. At any rate, you just want to know what you're working with. Read the sheet. All right, so they give you some technical information. When you buy it, this comes in there. Don't just cut it out and throw it away. Actually, look at it. It tells you what you should have, what you need to do to get it ready, and how to keep this cartridge good. Because this little cartridge right here was $55. So they're not giving this stuff away. So it's good if we can keep it good inside this cartridge and keep using it. It's really easy to keep it usable for time after time. So we're going to pop this little collar off. We need that. We do not need the little red plug. But the next step that you do need to do is I'm just going to do this on a towel right here so you can see what's going on. I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull the trigger, and I want to make sure I have material coming out of both sides of that cartridge, okay? Make sure it's not hardened up. I have had an issue with this foam. After about a year, it gets so hard up here that you cannot use it anymore. So if your foam has been sitting on the shelf for a long time, you better check it before you plan on using it late on Friday night, because it's probably gone bad on you. Now, we'll tighten this collar up, and then now I'm ready to pull the trigger, and I will discard the first inch of this material. So I'm just going to shoot it off on a towel and let it do its thing, and then we know we have good mixed material coming in there, so we're guaranteed that she's going to work good. This tip has little sections that I can cut off for bigger beads. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to grab a hold of it with a pair of pliers and I'm going to smash it, because the area that I have to put it is pretty small. I've got to squeeze the tip down in there, and I don't want to get it all over the end. All right, so we're over in the trunk area here. I'm going to try to keep from talking too loud, because it's like I'm in a tin can here. I've got a glass stick or a glass bone poked in to kind of separate this panel a little bit, because there's not a very big gap, and this is where I'm going to shoot the foam into. I've also taken a round hole right here. I've stuck tape inside of that to form a dam, because this stuff is pretty runny. It's pretty liquid when it first comes out. And you recall, you got like 10 seconds possibly before it starts actually working. So, you know, a 10 count of you gunning that in there, it's going to run down and run around this area. One thing you want to make sure of before you start doing this, if you got to run any wires or anything through here, you better come up with a method of a piece of conduit inside, or go ahead and run your wire first, something like that, because you're not going to have a chance to get wire through this after this foam goes in this part. And we're probably going to put enough material to do this in there. Might try to count pumps. On a lot of new OEM stuff, they tell you how much you're supposed to fill. We're working on an old Fiat. It doesn't matter. So you can see I kind of mashed that tip. One word of caution, if you get too carried away, you can break the end off that tip. Ask me how I know. So I've got it smashed a little bit. It will fit in there, kind of. That's why I have the tape around this to protect all my paint. So I'm going to take and I'm going to squeeze this, and you can see she's coming out. Once you start squeezing, you don't stop, because if you stop, the foaming action will start. I'm going to poke it back in there. 1, 2, buckle my shoe, poke it some more. Look at that foam come out, buddy. That's why we got the tape on there. Keep it shooting in. All right, so that should be sufficient. Now, you can see she is working. Grab the camera here. Yeah, I mean, it's going to continue to foam for a little bit. Kind of reminds you when you were a kid at the science fair and the little volcanoes and stuff that kids made. You know, this is fun. But you see, I got just enough tape there to keep that from happening. It is like already set up. That's real time. And I can feel it back up inside there. So we did good. Now I'm going to pull this off. While it's still wet, we're going to try this. If I can't get it all to pull, I can always come back with a razor blade and very carefully trim it off. I tucked the tape back in behind there just so I wouldn't have any residue on this. So, hey, all right. So there you go. I'm going to let that sit for about 24 or so before I finish that up. But let's see if we did any good out here. Oh, look at that. No movement, and I do have the glass stick out. There's nothing supporting it, and you can't make it make noise now. So hey, there you go, something that actually works. And again, this is a 3M flexible foam. Oh wow. 08463 is the part number. Professional use only, not intended for retail sale. I don't understand why they put those labels on. I mean, I bought this off eBay because my local paint store, they were out of it. So I just went on and ordered it on Amazon. One thing you want to make sure of is that you are buying a new product. When you do that, you're not getting something that's sat on the shelf for a long time. Because as I mentioned before, it does go bad in the container. So hey, I'm glad that you tuned in. Hopefully you learned something about reducing vibration and harmonics inside of your car. I mean, you just think of those big Flowmasters with the high compression motor and driving down the highway with the thing screaming. You get that drone inside, this stuff inside of pillars, and you know, you can do it along the roof rail, get all kinds of cavities with this foam in it. It's going to stop those harmonics from traveling through those panels. You could even do it in the floorboard underneath in the braces. Okay, you just have to watch out. You don't want to trap water inside of those because that could cause rust. But this stuff is pretty amazing. All right, so if you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up, the little like button down at the bottom down there, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.